The Lost World by Michael Crichton. In this sequel to Jurassic Park, the only sequel that Michael Crichton ever did, we get to hear what happened to Ian Malcolm after the events of the first story. First of all, Ian Malcolm survived, which the Jurassic Park book left a bit doubtful. And second of all, there's another island full of dinosaurs. This time there's no cages, just a big wilderness full of scary dinosaurs. And so Ian and his group go there to look at the dinosaurs and figure out what's going on and why this island's there. And meanwhile, the bad guys also sneak onto the island, led by Dodgson, as we all remember from the first Jurassic Park movie, in a very unspectacular scene. And he is trying to steal dinosaur eggs for his genetics company. Now, to bring up the movies a bit, I thought the first Jurassic Park movie was a fair adaptation of the Jurassic Park book. There were lots of differences, of course, but it still felt like the same book. That's not the case with The Lost World. I felt like what's written in the book is completely different than the movie adaptation that they ended up doing. The only characters who remain the same are Ian Malcolm and Sarah Harding. And everyone else is different, and everyone's motivations are completely different. So it's like they went in their own new direction, which makes me sad because I think this would have been a really fun movie to watch. It basically is a fun movie to watch just in a book form because that's kind of Michael Crichton's style. This is why I loved Michael Crichton as a kid and why I still love him now. His books are so good at presenting a situation where there's just embedded action. You have island full of dinosaurs, you have groups of people, limited resources, and you just kind of watch it play out. He's very good at jumping from place to place on the island, and you're trying to keep track of which character is doing what and who has a car and who has whatever supplies. And he's so good at keeping the rules similar, so it feels like you're actually on the island just watching it play out. I think it'd be silly to look at this book from a literature perspective. There's really no character development. All the characters are pretty flat. They start the book the same way that they end the book. So no character development, and they also don't really have any sort of normal human reactions. Like if I saw someone getting eaten by a Tyrannosaurus Rex, that would start to throw me into some kind of existential crisis. Like I don't know how I'd react to that. But these people are just kind of move on to the next stage of survival. But none of this matters at all when you're in a Michael Crichton novel because the whole point of the book is action, adventure, fun, and it delivers beautifully on that score. Another thing that Michael Crichton does that really pays off in this novel is he really thinks through the details. So if you have this set up as a story, you have to ask certain questions. Like, if there's a dinosaur island with a system of computers, what would that computer interface look like if you were clicking around? If an evolutionary biologist and an ethologist are watching a herd of triceratops drink from a river, what would they be saying to each other? Or what are the physical mechanics of solving the problem of making a cast with basic materials for a Tyrannosaurus Rex baby with a broken leg? These are the kinds of questions that Michael Crichton thinks through, comes up with answers for, and puts them all in detail in his book. Where a lesser author would just kind of do some hand waving and you move on to the next part of the story. That's one thing that set Michael Crichton apart from other authors in my mind, his ability to weave the details in with a fast-paced story. It was really amazing what he was able to pull off in his books. One of the things we really missed from the movie adaptation is the Dodgson character. He's a classic Crichton villain. He's very smart, very conniving, very manipulative, and does whatever it takes to win, and it doesn't matter who he steps on if people get in his way. The funny thing is that when I read this book, I can only picture the Dodgson from the Jurassic Park scene, even though in that scene he seems pretty mild-mannered. Like, you wouldn't watch that scene and get any sort of sense of the evil that you get from reading this book. Anyway, I also like the main point of the book, which Michael Crichton makes through the Ian Malcolm character, which is kind of what he did in Jurassic Park too, that humans are very complex, the world is very complex, and we often think we know more than we actually do. And we as humans tend to oversimplify very complicated things, and this can lead to disastrous consequences. So, I love this book. I think it's at least as good as Jurassic Park, and I think it's a worthy sequel and follow-up. which is impressive because Jurassic Park set a pretty high bar as it was. So I'm going to give this book 4.5 stars.